Archie's made a purchase in the workshop, which it wouldn't have happened in my day. This wouldn't. We would have had the manual version, but Archie has made a purchase. He has spent my hard-earned money and his possible future inheritance on a toy for the workshop. I'll let him explain what he's bought. Welcome back to episode 63. I'm Gavin, this is Spitfire, and this week, do we solve the conundrum that we ended up with last week's episode? Archie goes and buys new toys for the workshop, and I head north.
So we're in the workshop now. Got some bits and bobs going on. I'll take you through to this bay here, where Connor is fabricating some brackets. I think they're called quick hitch bars. So there's 100 of these. I will let Connor explain a little bit more about them.
So yes, these are the 100 brackets I am making. Quite easy. We've gone off a template, so it's not too hard to make a jig out of it. It's a template there. This is one of the finished parts. Yeah, I've got all my jigs set up. So I've got my first stage there, where I can get all the parts on. I've got my second stage here, where I can get the rest of the parts on and finish welding. Yeah, pretty much just starting off now. I've cleaned up all the parts and folded everything, which is down here. So that's the hard bit done. It's just a bit of continuous work now, getting all the brackets done now. Yeah, that's about it.
So we are now at the back of the workshop now, back of the main workshop, coming into the back of the little workshop where you can see a Takuchi digger. So, don't know what size digger this is, to be fair. I want to say 9 ton, but I could be making it up completely, to be honest. So I think in the previous video you have seen me talk about the air out gouging for the thumb part down here. Now, so the customer, the dealer, came in on Friday just to confirm everything with where it's going, and his customer was happy with the positioning of the hydraulic ram. So I've just cleaned up big rectangle here. This is my 5mm template for where the bracket's going to sit. So I've prepped wider, obviously, because of the paint is going to be affected, wider than where I'm actually going to be working. And then I'm now in the middle of prepping the 20mm parts over here. So if you come over here, this is what I'm in the middle of doing. So this is what it comes out from the plasma machine. The holes have cut pretty bloody well, to be honest. We just wanted to test it with just the plasma cut hole. Sometimes it can cut on an angle slightly, but with the right settings, it does cut really nicely. So managed to cut this 0.5mm oversized, and it fits over like a glove. That's over the 45mm pin. So this one originally was cut at 47mm. Too big, too sloppy, would have caused issues long term. So I dropped that down by 1.5mm. That gives us both of these. The benefit of having extra material in stock is the fact that we can do testers, as opposed to having to drill all of these out when it's just as good of a fit with the plasma. So yeah, like I said, I'm in the middle of prepping all of these. So I've got bevel on both sides of each of these plates, and then sort of test fit the ram up again, tack these in place, weld it up, double check it fits once again, take the whole lot off, weld the thumb up, do a bit of painting, do a bit more painting, fit it back up, test it, and then the customer, hopefully by the start of next week, will be able to come and pick it up. So that'd be exciting to see it go out the workshop. Yeah, I think that's everything for this. So I will take you outside now to a 21C in stock that we've just had. So Sean, our electrician, was in on Friday and he finished wiring up this E21C. So he pre-wires the vibrating motor, which goes underneath the screen box. That's for the 21Cs at least, that is purely for access. So he can't get in there easily. So he pre-wired that. and then came in on Friday just to finish off wiring the conveyor and then the control box, which you can see around this side. So this is all in good working order. I believe Georgina in the office has got a buyer for this. So as soon as we find out, as soon as us in the workshop find out the mesh sizes they want, we'll get the meshes put in, do another test with the meshes, and then yeah, wait for the customer to come either pick it up or let us know when they want it dropping off. So with these, we do free delivery within the UK and within England and Wales, and then it's a costed delivery within Scotland and Northern Ireland, and then obviously anywhere mainland Europe, we can sort of price that up separately. So yeah, these are proving to be quite popular. There's two more. Well, there's a 21 and a 21C in production right now. One of the 21Cs is going to Plantworx. The other E21 is being made for stock, ready to sell. So if you would like to secure either this 21C, if the customer doesn't sort out what they need to do, the 21 or the 21C for when we're done with it on the show, speak to the sales team. Their email and number will be up here in the corners. People are liking that, I think. Adam's liking it with his little smiles. Yeah, the email and number for our sales team will be up in the screen. And they can send you over quotes for 21s, 21Cs, feeder hoppers, whatever you want. This is the thumb attachment for the Takuchi digger. So Rob has finished welding this off. So if you come here and have a look at Rob's cracking welds, cracking in a good way, cracking not bad. So there's multiple runs in there. Pin we've left in there just so we don't fill the bushes with paint. Obviously covered all that up, greased the internal bores of all the other holes, greased the internals for the grease nipples. Yeah, Rob is about to spray this now. This is going post office red, not Takuchi, not the same colour as Takuchi red. However, the salesman was happy for us to just paint it with the colour red that we have in stock. So yeah, this is going post office red. Anything to say, Rob? He just wants to wave, that's all. Yeah, so once this is painted, we'll let it dry off and then get it fitted back onto the digger, which is out here. This now has the hydraulic ram mounting plates welded on. So it's currently painted with grey, looks a little bit like clay at the minute, just primer grey. This is going to be going black soon, it says. The grey's just drying off for now. Well, it's dry to be fair, but as soon as Rob's done that, we'll get this painted black. Yeah, looking good as well. I'll take you through the workshop. Which way should we go? Let's go this way. No, we can't go that way, radio's on. We'll go this way. So we're now in Connor and George's bay at the minute, where Connor is cracking on with these quick hitch mounts. George, you can see here behind, he is grinding. Putting the corners on the plates, so he's just beveling off all the corners, cleaning up, make sure everything's ready. Yeah, so these are working really well. Connor and George are smashing through these. So I think you've already seen some of Connor's jig work. So yeah, it's clearly working and working very well. So we are now going through to the cutting room, where there is no action happening right now. Colin is machining for a project we cannot show you, unfortunately. So yeah, Colin is doing a bit of machine work for that. But in here we can see the fruits of Colin's labour, being the conveyor sections for the E21C that we're going to be producing soon. So this is there's more parts to be fair, there's some of the frame parts as well below. But this top pallet is just for the conveyor. Bless me, sorry. I don't know if I've ever seen this on camera before, that might be the first time. But anyway, this is the conveyor sections for the E21C, and that is the E21C going to Plantworx. So we'll try and document that in a lot more detail than we normally do for a 21C. So I think it'd be quite nice to be able to show, possibly on the stand, some of the videos and some of the clips that made that exact machine. Out here we've got the framework, so we've got the two different sections. We've got parts for the 21 and the 21C, pretty much the same frame, very slightly different though. So there's a few deviations which when we come to do the final parts I will show you, or when the frames are being put together I'll show you the key differences. It's not much, I think there's about 3 or 4 beams that are different, but they are very crucially different. Neither one will work with or without the others. And then just here we've got the screen deck part of the mini screens. So we've got what we call the clock faces. This is what the motor support bar mounts to essentially. That is a bolt-on, bolt-off job, so if any cracks were to occur, if anything was to happen badly, breakages or anything like that, it is a simple, probably 2-hour replacement job for 2 people to just swap that out. So we're yet to have to do that, to be honest, so, but it is there just in case. We sort of like to future-proof and future-plan stuff, because these machines are built to last. We hope they are still working in many, many, many years' time, and we want to make them as easily repairable as possible. So that's why if you have a look at some of our 21Cs, there's not a lot that can go wrong really. The roster's easily replaceable, and the rest of it, yeah, it's just metalwork pretty much. What else have we got? I think that's pretty much it for now, to be honest. Hopefully you can't hear the radio that they've just turned up. You might be able to, and Adam's going to be blurring all this out. Yeah, I think that is it. So, don't know if you've ever seen this before. I'm in Adam's office. I was just passing by, speaking to George in the office next door. I suppose you guys won't know the layout of the office, but yeah, speak to George next door, popped in to see if Adam needed anything, sort of filming content-wise, and he did. He would like me to just introduce the next sort of clip, I think. So, we've just had it, as in literally sub 5 minutes ago. So we just had a restarter meeting for the site banks. So we've got a design change. Some of it may be blurred out for you guys because it involves the ins and outs of the site bank, so the screen wise, but you can see the conversations that we have within the workshop and then with George, the CAD designer, to improve stuff. So we've made a batch of 5 of these previously, so then we've then come together, myself, Gavin and George have had a look at the site bank, made some changes. George has then gone and done that on the CAD design, and then now we've done a startup meeting involving everyone in the workshop, so everyone that will lay their hands on this, or to be fair, whether they'll lay hands on it or not, some of them will not touch this project. So yeah, everyone that's involved in the workshop will be, or has been, that's here, has looked at that and been part of that meeting. So any suggestions have been taken in. You may have seen me writing them down for George. So George is, to be fair, he's already done some of them. George has changed some bits already that myself, Gav and George missed. Some other changes that, in addition, so other ideas that we've then gone for. So yeah, there's always room for improvement, and we're certainly not afraid of sort of having conversations and improving stuff. So that was, it's about half an hour meeting for a few of us. So quite an expensive meeting when you sort of work out the hours. So apologies for that one, Gav. However, I would say that whatever the cost of that meeting is, we will have already saved by the improvements that were suggested within that meeting alone. So there was the improvement side of it, and then there was also the side of it in terms of everyone understands that project. Everyone knows that that part fits there and that part fits there. So there's certainly a lot less questions since we've been doing these starter meetings about where does this fit and why does that need to go there, because everyone knows it at the start. And then it also, I would say, allows everyone to take a bit of responsibility for it. So everyone's been involved in that meeting, everyone's had their chance to share ideas, so when we come to make it, it's not one person's fault as to why that panel isn't that way, or why wasn't this like this. Everyone shares that same responsibility, and everyone's got the same power to sort of change that and adjust it. So if they need to make that panel change, they can do it, just simply change it and then record it. George can then put it on the files for next time we make them. So it gives everyone the authority to make their own decisions and just get on with the project. Everyone knows what the crack is and everyone can make improvements. So yeah, I certainly am a fan of these startup meetings. So when you look at it from a pure cost perspective, they can be quite expensive, but as I'm confident that it's well worth the time.
So it's Tuesday afternoon. It's the first bit of filming I've done all week. This is because I am away in Scotland, because today me and Andrea are going to go and watch Oasis, which is a band from my youth, and I never had a chance to go and see them when I was younger. So today is the day to tick that off the bucket list. Now, in other news, back to business, Archie's made a purchase in the workshop, which it wouldn't have happened in my day. This wouldn't. We would have had the manual version, but Archie has made a purchase. He has spent my hard-earned money and his possible future inheritance on a toy for the workshop. I'll let him explain what he's bought.
Little lawnmower looking thing here. We're in Steve's bed at the minute, so we're just stopping him. It's a little lawnmower. This on? Yeah, it's on. Little lawnmower looking thing here. New tool for the workshop. So it's a floor sweeper. Simply push the machine forward, and it picks up all of the metal scraps. So all that grinding dust has ended up in here. You can see in there, so that prevents sweeping up and causing all of that to be into the air or to be put back into the air. It's just a cool tool to have, really. Saves having to find a brush and a sweeper. So I've only got one of these to the workshop. The main thinking was for the paint room. So where the paint room dust settles down in there, it'd be a lot easier and faster to clean it up with this. However, it's useful all over the workshop. So we've been collecting swarf of this. It pulls out the bristles just fine. The thinking is, if we have something available all the time, easy to pick up, easy to sweep up, and it sort of keeps itself to itself. So someone doesn't need to go out of the way and find a brush and then find a shovel to sweep it, to pick it up into the bin. They can sweep this all in one, straight into the bin. So if someone's waiting for a part for 5-10 minutes, they can walk up and down the workshop and clean a whole workshop this size in just a matter of minutes. So yeah, little workshop improvement.
Now, this week we've got Ashley and Stuart back up at the Manchester project, finishing off tracking belts, doing side skirts, finishing off. Now, at the end of last week, we'd got a conundrum that we hadn't actually got an answer for, and I sat and pondered that at the weekend. Now, when we first put that conveyor in, we put it all in place, lined it all up, everything's fine. Then when the belt people come and put it on, they started pulling the belt through, and because we hadn't got it bolted down at that point, it started to get pulled about a little bit. So I thought maybe the front has been pulled over to one side. So if you could imagine, you're looking at the bottom of the conveyor looking up, the bottom is where it is, and at the top of the conveyor it had been pulled across to the right. And because it's such a big lump and you could actually put a little bit of twist in it, I thought that's what had happened. So Stuart's gone up there this week with the laser level at the workshop. He's also got plumb bobs, and what I said was put a plumb bob from the top of the conveyor down to the floor and let that hang down, and then put another string line on the bottom of the conveyor, so the bit that runs parallel with the ground where it comes straight, run it from the back corner of there and then range a line running level with the edge of the conveyor. And I was hoping in some respects that those two string lines, the plumb bob from top to bottom and the ranged line from the horizontal part of the conveyor, I was hoping that they would be out, and that would explain why the actual conveyor is not doing what it should do. So he's done that, it's bang on. So that is not the issue. So Stuart has managed to adjust the top roller more than we had done the other day, and he's managed to get the conveyor to track in the middle, and I'll show you a video now of that. Also in other news, get my car back tomorrow, so we're driving back from Scotland tomorrow, and on the way down I'm going to pick my car up from Derby. That's 4 or 5 weeks I think they've had it. Managed to put nearly 4,000, this will be over 4,000 miles on this Range Rover by the time they get it back. I don't know what it is about when I have a courtesy car, I just seem to do lots of miles. That's not intentional, it's just sometimes how it falls. Seem to do lots of miles. So okay, we're going to sign off for now. We're off to Murrayfield Stadium to watch Oasis. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
So Wednesday morning, we're in the yard. This is not quite our area, but George, Alicia and Adam have just set up the tent for Plantworx. So just over a month's time, we will be stood in this tent, showing to some of you lovely viewers, I'm sure, any of you that will be attending. So yeah, I think the plan is to have a table in here, some chairs that we can talk. You guys can come talk to us. If you're interested in machines, plant and machinery we do, I think that's the plan. So nice and shaded. We are on an outside stand, so I'm sure Adam will put the map up here to show where we are, the stand number, and probably start for the address, give all the dates and whatnot. So yeah, it'd be really interesting. A lot of other companies going there. So some of our suppliers like Cutavar, they are also attending, so our plasma cutter. So that'd be interesting to sort of go to their stand. I'm sure they'll be sending customers over to us so that they can talk to us about our machine and our experiences, which is great. We love that. We love working with other brands to sort of promote each other, which is what we want. But yeah, nice new addition to the show stand. So hopefully you can hear me. The compressor's running in the background. Should be fine. So this is the thumb all painted up. It's currently in the little workshop. So yeah, you can see here where it's sort of flaking off. That is because Rob applied grease to the outside of the bush just to make sure the paint doesn't stick. So the paint sticks to the grease, and then you can just push and scrape that off a lot easier. So on the normal paint, you can't scratch that off. So yeah, that's the same for the internal bores of all of these. So that's looking good. Hopefully I'll get this on today. Colin has machined the pin for this, just on his lathe at the minute. So yeah, I should hopefully get this in today, but we'll see. So just had two potential customers, I should say, come in to have a bit of a demo. So they spoke to Regina a little while ago. I don't know how long ago, to be honest, a few weeks or months maybe. And then I got a message in one of the work group chats this afternoon at about 4 o'clock saying there's 2 customers coming, get the machine ready, something like that. So E21C, 30mm top deck, 10mm bottom deck, ready for them to come through. They started speaking to George and Georgina, and then George and Georgina quickly realised that they don't need a 21C. The 21C would not do the same throughput that they are needing. So they were working out what options would work for them, and then they would like a workshop tour. So I then joined them for the workshop tour, showed them around. When this is tensioned up properly, I don't need to, they just do the job. That's the conveyor. That's the whole thing, that is silent. You can't hear anything, that just
yeah, we will have Tom in build soon. So
and in doing so we do like to show everyone everything we do, not just the type of machine they're here for. So today it's clearly worked out, because in showing these customers the fact that we repair buckets for a national construction company, they would like us to price up a telehandler bucket repair for them. So that's great, works well. They would also like us to get some greedy boards quoted for them and some new rollers for one of their conveyors. So that's all good news. We showed them the site bank. They showed a lot of interest in that. So they were saying one of the problems that they currently have is the fact that when they get because they get a lot of sort of passing people going past their area, their yard, they do get a lot of sort of attempted thefts from their yard. So they were saying that a site bank, good value for what they need it for. So I believe Georgina is sending a quote off with some of the other sort of pricing that she could send off as well. So I think the plan is get Gav to go over to their site, so about 20 minutes, half hour away, not too bad. Do a bit of measuring up, price up, have a chat with them, and then that could be another good little project for us.
So just got back to the yard, got the black deal machine back, got rid of the Range Rover, back in the car, back to normal now. Now, somebody in the comments, well there's a few people in the comments actually, keep talking to us or leaving comments about how metal expands. How do we deal with it? How do we cope with metal when it's hot, cold, all of those sorts of bits and bobs. So I thought, because it is so warm today, we are 32, 33 degrees today. So I thought I would show what happens when metal gets hot and you'll realise it's not as big a deal as you think. 1 second. So we've got a nice long beam here, nice meaty bit of steel for this experiment, and Archie has got an infrared thermometer. So let's see, how warm is it, Archie?
39.4 degrees.
You wouldn't think that'd be that warm, would you?
Give or take, depending on what you measure.
My car says it's about 33 degrees, so obviously in the sun it is a bit sheltered here. There's no breeze or anything, so we're at 39.4, and this beam here is probably, what, 12-14 metres long. So let's measure it now at this temperature, and what we're going to do, so the plan is we're going to measure this now at this temperature. So we know what the temperature is, we're going to measure it now. I'm going to come back to this first thing tomorrow morning when it's a bit cooler, 6 o'clock in the morning, when it's probably single figures, not quite as warm. We'll take a temperature reading then, and then we'll also measure the length of it, and let's see what difference it makes. So we're on this end. Archie is the other end. This is that long. Some of this tape measure here might not be as accurate as a normal tape measure, but we'll see how we go with it. What we got here, Arch?
12 metres, 260.
12-260. That focus. 12-260. Bang on the nose. Maybe a whisker over. As I say, it might not be the most accurate tape measure. So we're 12-260 and a very little bit. So let's come back to this in the morning and see whether it's shrunk or stayed the same. Just something else we're going to do. Archie has got the verniers, and that is 7.03. Well, you got 38.2 degrees there. At 38 degrees.
We're in the shade now.
38 degrees. And so let's come back to that in the morning, Arch, and see what's what. So it's Thursday morning and the science experiment continues. So Archie's just gone for the tape measure and the verniers. Let's see how much this beam, what are we, 152 by 152 by 23 this is, isn't it? Just if anybody's wondering. So it's an I-beam, 152 by 152, and the 23 is 23 kilograms a metre. So if you cut a metre of this off and weighed it, weighs 23 kilograms. That's how they work out the size of the beam. So you might be able to get 152 by 152 by, is it 37? I can't remember, the next size up. So this is 23, and I think they do a 37. So that sort of indicates that everything's suddenly become a little bit more chunky. So let's have a measure and see what we got. So yesterday this was 7.03. So it has shrunk a little bit. What temperature we got on there, Arch? So yesterday this was about 38 degrees, and we're now down to 17 degrees. So yeah, 17 degrees. Right, let's check the length and see what length we got. So we are 12-260. Pretty much bang on. If we've gained anything, it's a millimetre. It's shrunk by a millimetre. When people ask about material being left out in the sun and how do we counteract it, the difference is negligible. It makes virtually no difference whether it's a cold day or a hot day on the sizes of material that we're working with. But I think if you were working on something like a ship or something like that, then obviously it would make a difference because it's a big old lump of steel. And if we have gained a millimetre yesterday afternoon on that length there, it makes no real difference to us. But you can imagine if you're on a ship that's a quarter of a mile long or whatever, then it would make a difference. Which leads me into this week's fun fact. So I'm back in the office now for this week's fun fact, and we're back on trains this week. So, just done that little experiment about how much does that big piece of steel expand in the heat. What we're going to try and do is, if that piece of steel is still there in December when it's a freezing temperature outside, we're going to measure it again and we're going to see how much it's shrunk. So yesterday was 39 degrees, was it from memory? I can't remember. 17 degrees today, so we'll see what it goes down to later on in the year if it's still there. Now, train lines. As you can imagine, they're a chunky bit of steel that goes on and on and on for a long way. So obviously on a hot summer's day, that is going to expand. Here's some facts for you. So a train track that goes from 0 degrees, so freezing, to 40 degrees, for every kilometre of track, how much do you think that expands by? So 0 to 40 degrees, 1 kilometre of track will expand by 50 millimetres, I reckon. So 50 millimetres. So if you think you've got one long track, that's a lot of expansion they're going to have to deal with. So how do they get around this? Well, one of the things they do is continuously weld the track so it's continuous. There's no joints in it, and then by doing that and fixing it to the sleepers, holds it all in place. But they also have expansion joints as well, just to take out some of the expansion and contraction. And what they also do on a hot summer's day, they might reduce the speed of the trains to reduce the stress on the track. So they can either call it track buckling or sun kink is the official term for it. There you go. You know all about it now, don't you? Heated expansion and contraction of big metal objects. You are well in the picture now.
So we are in the paint room now with Ashley and George. They are assembling in the paint room, just while it's here, the 3-metre conveyor. So this is for the Eco-Hog that has previously been in the yard. This is a new conveyor. Instead of a vibrating feeder at the top, this is going to go in the place. So Ashley and Rob are going to site in Coventry on Monday to remove said vibrating feeder and replace it with this. So this is the solution we've come up with. Yeah, it's a width to length ratio is a little bit strange for us. Normally we have about 750mm wide conveyor and multiple meters more than this, but this is a 3-metre long conveyor, 1 metre wide for the belt. So I'd imagine the actual external of this is about 1200 wide. Our standard design, so internal drop-in rollers, lagged head drum, skeleton tail drum. Yeah, sort of bread and butter really. Easy to make, easy to design, easy to build. So 3-metre conveyor, not far off being done now. So it's being taken out of the little workshop, out of the paint room now, and it's going to be taken through to one of the other parts of the workshop. So there's not much left on this now. Tail roller, side skirts, and sort of tension up. That's pretty much it. Back panel and grease boards, sort of pretty easy. But for now, Ashley and George have just been prepping some of the radio pods. So the digger radio pods that Rob had folded and fabricated, they're about to be painted. So they are going black. Yeah, don't think there's much else to really say about these. Once they go black, we need to get some riv nuts inside them, but that's about it really.
So it's Saturday morning and the adventure with my car continues. Picked it up on Wednesday. Picked it up Wednesday afternoon. Brought it back. Drove it Thursday up to Birmingham. Didn't drive very good. Throttle response wasn't very good. Bit flat. Just not right. And then on the way back from Birmingham, the engine management light come on. So called Land Rover Assist out again yesterday. Guy come out, all the faults for the EGR valve are back. Virtually everything. Full house of faults for the EGR valve. low pressure, high pressure, open circuit, closed circuit, non-responsive, EGR this, EGR that, everything, the full house. So I'm now on my way back to the Land Rover garage. I'm actually going back to Derby, which is a 63 mile, so yeah, it's 126 mile round trip, just to go and swap it. And I'm having the Range Rover back that I had the other day, because that's still available. So this is the third time it's been in. So let's see if it's third time lucky. So here's a familiar look. Back in the same car I had 48 hours ago, same courtesy car. Now this car had dodgy windscreen wipers. It had only done 17,000 miles when I picked it up. It had dodgy windscreen wipers. And whilst I was in there, I said, before I take it, you couldn't just put some new wiper blades on the front, could you? And they went, no. There's nobody here who can authorise that payment. No, we don't know quite who has to pay for that. We might have to ring Land Rover, and it could be Monday until we found out. And I said, are you seriously going to allow me to drive away one of your courtesy cars with dodgy windscreen wipers for the sake of 30 quid? Seriously, is that how it's going to be? We'll come back to you. Anyway, 10 minutes later, there's new wiper blades being fitted, but you just think, where's customer service gone in this country? You know, this is the third time my car has gone into Land Rover, and you would think they'd be like, all right, okay, we need to sort of really look at our customer service here to make sure that we're top notch and we keep this guy happy. But they're going to annoy me over 30 quid worth of wipers. Absolutely bonkers. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Next week, we make a start on the Cayman Island trommel project. And next Tuesday, we are back up in Manchester. I'm up there with our health and safety guy. We're doing a pure inspection before the customer starts using it in anger. And we're also doing some other work up there as well on Tuesday. So we'll catch up with you next week.
Radio.
Oh, Adam! What if we just come in the doorway here a bit? What if we just come in here?
What's he doing?
Radio.
We've also got some other bits and bobs going on in the office, in the workshop. In office? Workshop? Hang on. I'll do that again.
Please don't turn it up, George. Hopefully you didn't hear that. George from the radio there.
It's not a toy.
It's not a toy.
It's a very useful implement.
It's a toy.
Essential.
So's a sweeping brush.
I don't know what one of those is.
What, a sweeping brush? No, I know you don't know what a sweeping brush is. That's bloody bonkers, that is it. No, you just wouldn't use it.
But it might not be. We can't be too sort of hopeful. You're gonna have to cut this out, Adam. Yeah, just cut out where I said, before I said but.
Yeah, you've done it anyway.
Everything else is alright.